What if one tweet could crash a market, upend a company's fate, and shift the balance of power in the tech world, all within seconds? That's exactly what happened when Elon Musk, the man once dismissed as a Silicon Valley oddball, sent out a 5-word tweet that changed everything. Dogecoin is the people's crypto. It was short. It was impulsive. And it was chaos. Within minutes, millions scrambled to buy the joke coin. Within hours, news outlets were calling him irresponsible. Within days, the financial world had to reckon with something new, influence not driven by policy or pedigree, but memes. Elon Musk, the meme king, wasn't just making jokes, he was shaping futures. But how did it come to this? How did a man who once slept on a couch in his factory become the most unpredictable emperor in tech? And how much of it was planned, and how much of it was simply madness? This is the story of a man who turned his deepest anxieties into rocket fuel, who blurred the lines between genius and instability, and who refused to play by the rules even when the stakes were global. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk's journey isn't about money, it's about obsession. And it all started far from Wall Street or Silicon Valley. In the dusty suburbs of Pretoria, South Africa, a pale boy named Elon spent his days reading Isaac Asimov and dreaming about Mars. His parents barely noticed when he disappeared into his books for hours. His classmates did. They mocked him. He was beaten, thrown downstairs, once even hospitalized. But he didn't fight back. He fantasized instead, of building something so big that no one could ignore him again. He learned to code at 12. Sold his first game for $500. But this wasn't about business. It was about building a world where he was in control. Fast forward to his 20s, Elon had arrived in North America with 2 suitcases and a head full of ideas. He had no friends, no money, no safety net. But he had drive. That irrational, relentless drive. He co-founded Zip2, sleeping in the office and showering at the YMCA. When investors pushed him aside, he started over, X.com, which later became PayPal. His own board fired him again. But every failure only sharpened his edge. The world thought he was erratic. Elon believed he was right. Then came Tesla. And with it, a war. Not just against gas-guzzling carmakers or short sellers or lazy engineers, but against doubt itself. At one point, Tesla was weeks away from bankruptcy. Elon wired his last $40 million into the company and told his team, "We're going to make it, or I'm going to die trying." He wasn't joking. He worked 22 hours a day. Slept under his desk. Missed his child's birth. His marriage was crumbling. His health deteriorating. But he refused to give in. And yet, it wasn't the electric cars or the rockets that made him a household name. It was the memes. It was when he tweeted, "Funding secured," that Wall Street lost its mind. When he smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast, investors panicked. But the public? They laughed. They retweeted. They followed. Elon Musk wasn't just a CEO anymore. He was a symbol. A trickster god of disruption. Every tweet was a grenade. Sometimes funny. Sometimes dangerous. Always influential. But behind the jokes, there was always the mission. Colonize Mars. Save humanity. End climate change. Eliminate traffic. Digitize consciousness. It sounded like science fiction. But Elon never cared about sounding crazy. He cared about building the future, his version of it. And if that meant tweeting memes about Dogecoin, or naming his child XAEA-12, or challenging Putin to a fistfight, so be it. Because attention was power. And Elon had mastered it. But power always comes with a price. The higher he climbed, the more volatile the falls. In the coming chapters, you'll see how Elon went from a bullied boy in Pretoria to a billionaire fighting regulators, revolutionizing industries, and walking a tightrope between madness and genius. But before we go further, ask yourself, what pushes you forward, even when everything's falling apart? For Elon, it wasn't money. It wasn't fame. It was obsession. And sometimes, that's all it takes. One tweet. One mission. One unstoppable, meme-powered mind. Let's dive deeper into the man who didn't just predict the future, he tweeted it into existence. There was always something off about Elon. Not wrong, just different. Before he was a billionaire, before he was trending on Twitter every other day, before he tweeted Dogecoin into the stratosphere or took rockets to the edge of space, Elon Musk was just a quiet, pale boy who didn't quite fit. His classmates knew it. His teachers noticed it. And deep down, so did he. Pretoria, South Africa, was not the kind of place that celebrated dreamers. Especially not in the late 70s and 80s. Elon grew up in a country on the edge, fractured by apartheid, defined by violence, and weighted by silence. But inside the Musk household, things weren't much lighter. His parents, May and Errol, were both sharp in different ways. May was a Canadian model and dietitian, composed, elegant, driven. Errol was an engineer with a volatile streak. Elon admired his father's brilliance but would later call him evil and a terrible human being. Their home was filled with contradictions. Books and shouting. Affection and resentment. Elon, the eldest, absorbed it all. While other kids rode bikes and kicked soccer balls, Elon read. Science fiction mostly, Asimov, Clarke, Heinlein. The kind of stories where lonely geniuses save doomed civilizations. He devoured encyclopedias. Memorized manuals. Taught himself basic programming on a clunky Commodore computer. It wasn't escape. It was formation. The world was confusing. But computers? Code? That made sense. That was logic. He wrote a video game called Blaster when he was 12 and sold it for $500. Not bad for a kid who had no formal training. But that didn't stop the beatings. School was hell. He was small, weird, and always muttering about Mars. Easy target. Bullies broke his nose. Threw him down a flight of stairs. He had to have surgery. But he never fought back, not then. Instead, he retreated further into his imagination. He didn't need them. He'd leave Earth one day anyway. He began dreaming of electric cars before he had a license. He saw the flaws in the education system, the power grid, and the fossil fuel economy before most adults did. But who would listen to a kid like Elon? At 13, his parents divorced. May took the kids, but Elon chose to live with Errol. He would later call it the worst decision of his life. The emotional wounds ran deep. He didn't talk about it much, but the pain was there, under the surface, pushing him forward. Every time someone underestimated him, every time he was dismissed or mocked or fired, a voice inside reminded him, prove them wrong. That voice started in Pretoria. It stayed with him through every border, every sleepless night, every risk. After finishing high school early, Elon left South Africa at 17. The military was mandatory there, but Elon had no interest in serving an apartheid regime. He wanted out. Canada, his mother's home country, was his ticket. He arrived with almost nothing. Just a duffel bag, some borrowed money, and big dreams. The kind that felt ridiculous to everyone else. He enrolled at Queen's University in Ontario. That's where he met Justine, his first wife. She was smart, ambitious, literary. They bonded over ideas and restlessness. Elon wasn't rich yet, but he was already intense. Conversations weren't small talk, they were debates, visions, scenarios. You either kept up, or you fell behind. Elon didn't date casually. He pursued with purpose. He married like he built companies, fast, all in, no breaks. Their relationship would become another fire he burned through, but in those early days, there was warmth, even laughter. But school wasn't where he wanted to be. After 2 years, he transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, dual degrees in physics and economics. More interesting than classes, though, was what Elon did in between. He and his roommates rented a house and turned it into a nightclub to pay the bills. Elon didn't party much, he preferred the computer lab, but he watched. Observed how people behaved, what they chased, what they feared. He filed it all away. Even then, he was building a mental blueprint. Not just for a company, but for a new kind of world. After Penn, he was accepted into a PhD program at Stanford in applied physics and materials science. He lasted 2 days. The internet was booming. Email was changing the world. Elon saw it happening in real time and knew, this was his moment. He dropped out and founded his first startup, Zip2, with his brother Kimball. They had almost no money. Slept in the office. Showered at the YMCA. Cold pizzas. Coffee at midnight. Elon coded for 20 hours a day. They were building software that let newspapers create online city guides, sort of like an early Yelp meets Google Maps. Investors were skeptical. Elon was awkward. He spoke too fast. Too blunt. Didn't know how to soften his intensity. But the code worked. The product delivered. And eventually, the checks came in. Zip2 was acquired for $307 million in 1999. Elon walked away with $22 million. He was 27. That could have been the end of the story, a big payday, early retirement. But for Elon, it was only chapter 1. The money wasn't the goal. The money was a tool. A way to build more. Bigger. Bolder. That same year, he founded X.com, an online banking platform. It would eventually become PayPal after a merger, but again, Elon clashed with the board. He had a vision, and it didn't always align with the suits. He was ousted while on his honeymoon. Justine remembers the phone call, "They've replaced me as CEO." He was furious. Not because of ego, though that was part of it, but because he knew they were playing it safe. Elon didn't do safe. When PayPal was sold to eBay for $1.5 billion, Elon got $180 million. He could have disappeared then. Bought an island. Started a hedge fund. Instead, he poured almost all of it into 3 impossible ideas: electric cars, reusable rockets, and drilling tunnels under cities. His family thought he was losing it. Justine worried he was too thin, too obsessed. But Elon never slowed down. He and Justine would eventually have 5 children, twins and triplets. He loved them, talked about them often, but work always came first. He wanted to give them a better future, but he rarely lived in the present. Friends came and went. Relationships frayed. But Elon kept building. Because beneath the money, the chaos, the jokes, he was still that boy from Pretoria. Still dreaming of Mars. Still trying to prove something. To the world. To his father. Maybe even to himself. Elon once said, "I don't have a business plan. I have a mission." That mission came from pain. From wonder. From lonely childhood nights imagining a better world. And while his methods are often controversial, while he tests boundaries and patience alike, you can't understand Elon Musk without understanding that it all started with family. With conflict. With love. With loss. With a boy who never quite fit, so he decided to reshape the world until it did. It was never about the money, not really. Elon Musk saw business the way some people see philosophy, a framework to bend the world into shape. Where others saw industries, he saw inefficiencies. Where others saw stability, he saw stagnation. At the root of every venture, every sleepless night and every risk, there was always a single, obsessive question burning in his mind: why does it have to be this way? The answer, in most cases, was, it doesn't. After walking away from the PayPal deal with $180 million in his pocket, Elon could have stopped. Anyone else might have. Buy a mansion, buy an island, buy time. But Elon bought three problems instead: energy, transportation, and space. Long before these moonshot ideas, though, the entrepreneurial spark was already lit. Not at Stanford, not even at Penn, but in those quiet hours as a kid building worlds on his Commodore VIC-20, when he realized he could make things, code, games, tools, that other people wanted. That idea, that leverage of value through intellect, lodged itself in his brain like a root system. He wasn't going to work for someone else. He was going to build something. Multiple somethings. Everything. The early days at Zip2, his first real startup, were brutal. Elon and his younger brother Kimball started with a vision: local businesses connected through the internet in a way that made cities navigable, searchable, and alive online. This was the mid-90s. The idea of people using the internet to find restaurants or maps seemed alien to most investors. But Elon knew the world would catch up. He didn't care that their office was barely more than a room with an old mattress. He coded all night, fueled by pizza, Red Bull, and sheer will. They couldn't afford a cleaner, so Elon took out the trash. He pitched to every local newspaper and media group that would listen. Many didn't. The rejection stung, but not enough to stop him. Eventually, the idea caught fire. Investors arrived. Funding followed. But so did the first real cracks. Elon wasn't a polished CEO type. He lacked tact in meetings. He was often too technical, too honest, too impatient. He demanded excellence and burned through people who didn't match his energy. Some of the board started to view him as a liability: too young, too wild, too idealistic. When Zip2 was acquired by Compaq for over $300 million, Elon was ousted from his CEO role before the ink was even dry. It was a humiliating moment, but also a defining one. Elon understood then that control mattered more than capital. Vision was useless if someone could take the wheel away from you. So the next time he built something, he vowed to stay in charge no matter what. That next thing was X.com. It was 1999, and the dot-com boom was boiling. Elon saw an opening: online banking. Back then, people still waited in lines at bank branches, filled out paper slips, mailed checks. It was inefficient, clumsy, ancient. X.com would change that. Fully digital, user-focused, a bank of the future. The idea was radical and risky. Most people didn't even trust entering their credit card numbers online yet, let alone moving their entire financial lives into cyberspace. Elon didn't care. He invested $12 million of his own money, nearly everything he had, to get it going. He hired fast, iterated faster. But the stakes were higher now. Big competitors loomed. Regulations tightened. An internal conflict simmered. The code base was unstable. Some employees pushed for a complete rewrite. Elon refused. Arguments broke out. Stress levels spiked. In 2000, X.com merged with Confinity, a company co-founded by Peter Thiel that had created a money transfer system called PayPal. The merger made sense financially, but not culturally. Elon and Thiel didn't see eye to eye. When Elon took over as CEO of the combined company, he insisted on changing the name back to X.com. He believed in the brand. He believed in its potential. Others found it confusing, even slightly inappropriate. The disagreements turned fierce. On a flight to Australia for a long overdue vacation with Justine, Elon received a call: he'd been replaced as CEO. The board had voted while he was in the air. Another betrayal. Another lesson. Elon was angry, devastated, but not broken. When eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion in 2002, Elon still walked away with $180 million. He could have turned bitter. He could have played it safe. Instead, he took nearly every dollar and reinvested it into three of the riskiest ventures on Earth: Tesla, SpaceX, and later, SolarCity. At this point, people stopped calling him lucky and started calling him crazy. But Elon didn't care. If people weren't calling him crazy, he felt like he wasn't pushing hard enough. His friends warned him he was spreading himself too thin. Investors refused to follow him across so many ventures. But Elon knew. No great transformation ever comes from a single bet. He was building a new operating system for civilization. Each company was a different file in the code. What most people didn't understand was that Elon didn't start companies to make products. He started them to solve existential problems. Tesla wasn't just about cars. It was about breaking the global addiction to fossil fuels. SpaceX wasn't just about rockets. It was about making life multiplanetary in case Earth became uninhabitable. SolarCity wasn't just about panels. It was about restructuring the energy grid. His critics thought he was chasing shiny objects. In reality, he was building backup plans for humanity. And he didn't care if he went broke doing it. For a time, he almost did. By 2008, all three companies were bleeding cash. Tesla couldn't meet production targets. SpaceX had failed 3 launches in a row. The economy was collapsing. Elon had to choose between saving his companies or keeping anything for himself. He chose the companies. Wired his last $40 million into Tesla to make payroll. Told friends he was prepared to sleep in the office again if that's what it took. Divorce papers with Justine had already been filed. His kids were still young. He hadn't seen a beach or a proper meal in weeks. But his eyes stayed wide. His mind stayed locked. Not on the chaos, but on the possibility. That was the pattern. Every time Elon faced betrayal, failure, collapse, he built something bigger. Not as revenge. As necessity. Because his relationship with risk wasn't like other people's. He didn't flirt with it. He danced with it, lived with it, slept with it. He called it his business partner. And it never blinked. The early days of Musk's entrepreneurial rise weren't smooth or clean or easy. They were messy, volatile, bruising. They burned bridges. They tested friendships. But they also revealed a truth that still defines him to this day: Elon Musk doesn't just think outside the box. He doesn't even see the box. Every failed product, every ousting, every sleepless night coding by himself in the dark built the foundation for the empire he would later construct. Zip2, PayPal, and X.com were not the final goals. They were the training ground. The simulation. The origin story of a man who would one day tweet something absurd about cryptocurrency and watch the world tremble. But back then, he was just a guy with no backup plan, no safety net, and a chip on his shoulder the size of Mars. The meme king hadn't emerged yet. But the architect was already drawing the blueprints. And he wasn't planning to stop. In the valley of innovation, where everyone had a pitch deck and a dream, PayPal became Elon Musk's crucible. It was the startup that introduced him to war. Corporate war, technological war, ego war. A fire that forged not just a product, but a version of Elon Musk who would never forget what it meant to have everything on the line, including his pride. It began innocently enough. In 1999, Elon was fresh off the Zip2 deal and flush with $22 million. For most people, that would be more than enough. Not for him. Almost immediately, he poured $12 million into a new company, X.com. He believed, deeply and without compromise, that the future of money was digital. Banks were slow, outdated, inconvenient. Elon didn't just want to build a website, he wanted to build the future of finance. That meant tearing the entire system down and rebuilding it in his own image. He hired aggressively, choosing brilliant misfits and thinkers over conventional resumes. The office was raw energy. People worked insane hours, not because they were told to, but because Elon inspired something contagious, an impossible urgency to fix the world. He was in the trenches with them, sleeping on bean bags, coding at 3 a.m., writing long emails filled with vision, logic, and ruthless expectations. He knew what he wanted, and more importantly, he knew what he wouldn't accept. Anything slow, mediocre, or bureaucratic. He crushed it. X.com quickly attracted attention, not just from users, but from competitors. One of them was a small startup called Confinity, co-founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. Their product was focused, smart, software that let people send money via Palm Pilots and email. Elon was impressed. But he didn't want to partner, he wanted to win. Still, the marketplace was moving faster than either team expected. A merger was proposed. It made sense on paper. X.com had more capital, Confinity had PayPal, a name that was beginning to gain traction. Together, they could dominate. The deal was done. The companies merged. But this wasn't a happy marriage. It was a collision. Cultures clashed. Elon, as CEO, pushed hard for a unified product and insisted on using Microsoft systems, something many engineers hated. He wanted to rebrand everything as X.com, a name he believed was sleek, modern, and edgy. Others thought it sounded like a porn site. Emails flew. Tensions grew. Engineers muttered under their breath. Elon's leadership style, visionary but uncompromising, began to wear people down. His meetings were intense. He asked impossible questions and expected real answers. He was brilliant, but unpredictable. Some admired him. Others feared him. Most just tried to stay out of the blast radius. Then, while Elon was on vacation in Australia with Justine, the board acted. They held a secret vote. The result was swift. Elon was removed as CEO. Replaced. Ousted. Again. For the second time in his career, a company he founded had turned against him while he was out of the building. The news hit him hard. He called it a coup. It felt like betrayal, like sabotage. But he didn't rage publicly. He didn't quit. He didn't lash out. He stayed on as a major shareholder, swallowed his anger, and watched as the team rallied around PayPal. The name stuck. The brand grew. But the tension never fully dissolved. Behind the scenes, Elon still pushed for innovation. He pushed for faster systems, tighter security, better design. The company was bleeding money from fraud. Every day, hackers found new ways to exploit the platform. Elon personally reviewed logs, suggested fixes, brainstormed solutions with engineers until dawn. He couldn't let go, not fully. PayPal was more than a business, it was a battlefield where he learned to fight. And the lessons weren't just technical. They were emotional. Political. Existential. One moment in particular stuck with him for years. He'd proposed replacing the Linux-based backend with Microsoft, convinced it would scale better. Engineers revolted. One even threatened to quit on the spot. Elon didn't back down, but he also didn't get his way. It taught him a truth he would never forget: control isn't just about ownership, it's about loyalty. If people don't believe in your vision, they'll sabotage it. From that point forward, in every venture, he structured power differently. He made sure boards couldn't remove him again. That the control mechanisms were bulletproof. No more coups. No more compromises. Meanwhile, PayPal began to take off. Growth was explosive. People loved the simplicity, the speed, the idea of sending money across the globe with a click. But the chaos behind the scenes only intensified. The press dubbed the group of founders and engineers the PayPal Mafia. It was a band of brilliant rebels: Thiel, Levchin, Reid Hoffman, David Sachs, and yes, Elon. They argued constantly. About direction. About ethics. About who deserved credit. But somehow, it worked. They pushed each other. They challenged each other. They shaped each other. Elon learned from them, even when he disagreed with them. Especially then. In 2002, PayPal went public. It was a triumph, a moment of validation. But the real turning point came just months later when eBay acquired the company for $1.5 billion. Elon, as the largest individual shareholder, walked away with $180 million. He could have stopped right there. Lived forever off the interest. But that wasn't the plan. Not even close. He looked at the money not as a reward but as ammunition. Fuel. Raw material for the next war. Because even as PayPal conquered digital payments, Elon had already set his sights somewhere else. Higher. Hotter. Off-planet. In the quiet moments, between board meetings, between fights, he had been researching rockets. Studying NASA. Reading physics textbooks like novels. He knew Earth wouldn't last forever. He knew humanity needed an escape plan. And he was going to build it. Most people thought it was ridiculous. A joke. A billionaire midlife crisis. But Elon didn't joke about space. He never did. PayPal had given him the platform. Now he would use it to launch something that made online banking look like a warm-up act. SpaceX was already forming in his head: fully reusable rockets, private launches, Mars colonies. But that's another chapter. What mattered in this one was that PayPal showed Elon what it meant to lose power, and win anyway. It taught him how to survive betrayal, how to navigate corporate politics, how to make something unstoppable even when everyone's telling you to stop. It also gave him a taste of influence. Real influence. Not just wealth, but the ability to move markets, change habits, challenge systems. PayPal was a weapon. And in Elon's hands, it became the first real sign that he wasn't just an entrepreneur. He was a force. One night, after the acquisition, he stood outside the office alone, watching the lights flicker off for the last time under his name. A reporter had once asked him what drove him. Was it revenge? Recognition? Elon said no. It was risk. The desire to bet everything, again and again, until the impossible wasn't impossible anymore. That answer, like most things Elon says, sounded like a riddle. But it wasn't. It was the blueprint. The roadmap. From this fire, this mess of talent, ambition, betrayal, and breakthrough, Elon Musk emerged not just smarter, but sharper. Not just richer, but tougher. PayPal gave him scars. But it also gave him clarity. The next time he built something, it wouldn't just change how we move money. It would change how we move through the universe. It started as a joke. One tweet. One image. A dog, a coin, a smirk. Then came the replies, the retweets, the chaos. Within minutes, people were buying. Within hours, the market moved. Within days, the world realized something strange was happening. Elon Musk, the man who built rockets, cars, solar systems, was also tweeting memes. Not marketing strategies. Not press releases. Memes. Shiba Inu dogs. Dank jokes. Absurd pop culture references, surreal enough to make Wall Street analysts scratch their heads. The internet laughed. The markets trembled. And Elon? He leaned in. It wasn't an accident. It was an evolution. Because by the time he became a meme, Elon Musk had already realized something that most CEOs never did: attention was the new currency, and he had just unlocked the mint. It didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually, one post at a time. At first, it was just Twitter, a place to talk about launches, tech updates, ideas. Then it got stranger. Jokes about anime. Edits of Elon riding a rocket with Doge beside him. Puns. Sarcasm. One day, he tweeted, "I put the art in fart." Another day, 69.420% probability. Investors were horrified. Fans were ecstatic. The internet couldn't look away. Elon didn't care what people expected from a billionaire. He cared about what kept people engaged. He'd already rewritten the rules of cars and rockets, why not communication? Why not flip the public figure playbook and turn himself into a meme machine powered by chaos, curiosity, and just enough mystery to stay untouchable? For a long time, CEOs were expected to be polished, reserved, controlled. Elon shredded that image. He tweeted while eating cereal. He tweeted while at factories. He tweeted in bed. He tweeted in the middle of the night like a digital phantom whispering memes into the void. And it worked. The engagement was unreal. Every post became a headline. Every emoji sparked theories. Every dog picture moved markets. But behind the lulz and low-res images was something more calculated. Elon wasn't just being silly, he was being strategic. He understood the rhythm of attention, the flow of online culture. Memes weren't just jokes, they were carriers. Like little viral seeds packed with messaging, brand association, emotional cues. While other companies spent millions on ad campaigns, Elon launched memes that reached farther, faster, cheaper. When he tweeted about Dogecoin, its value exploded. People bought in not because they understood crypto, but because Elon said it was funny. When he renamed himself Techno King of Tesla, on a legal filing, it wasn't a stunt. It was a signal, the future isn't serious. It's surreal. Get ready. His critics said it was irresponsible. Immature. Market manipulation. And maybe it was. But it was also brilliant. Because in a world drowning in information, only the weird cuts through. And Elon was the king of weird. He weaponized it. Turned it into leverage. Into clout. Into cultural capital. His companies didn't need to beg for media coverage, he was the coverage. Whether he was naming his child XAEA-12, calling a rescue diver a pedo guy, or tweeting GameStonk during the Reddit stock frenzy, Elon existed in a space no one else could touch. Above rules. Beyond logic. Too rich to cancel, too fascinating to ignore. It was risky. Every tweet had the potential to move billions, incite lawsuits, summon regulators. And they did. In 2018, after tweeting, "AM considering taking Tesla private at $420. Funding secured, the SEC came knocking. It was no longer a joke. The stock surged, then tanked. Lawsuits followed. Elon was fined. Forced to step down as Tesla's chairman. But he didn't stop tweeting. Not for a second. Because for Elon, the memes were more than humor. They were rebellion. A rejection of the sanitized, corporatized version of success. He wasn't Steve Jobs in a black turtleneck. He wasn't Jeff Bezos in a power suit. He was Elon, online, unfiltered, raw. And the people loved it. Not just fans, but followers. Millions of them. Young people, especially. They didn't see a CEO, they saw a character. Someone who could talk about space colonies 1 minute and post a meme about Harambe the next. Someone who could build world-changing tech and still say, LOL. In a culture obsessed with authenticity, Elon's chaos felt real. Even if it was calculated. Even if it was dangerous. And sometimes it was. The more power his tweets carried, the more pressure he faced. Crypto markets began to respond to him like weather patterns. Bitcoin soared after he added it to Tesla's balance sheet, then crashed when he reversed course over environmental concerns. Dogecoin was a hustle 1 week, the future of currency the next. Lives changed. Fortunes made. Fortunes lost. All through the strange new world of meme economics. Elon knew the stakes. He joked about them, but he also studied them. He was addicted to the feedback loop. He read every reply. He engaged with fan art, replied to trolls, reposted memes made by strangers. He blurred the line between creator and consumer, CEO and stan account. He became part of the internet's bloodstream. But behind the curtain, the consequences were mounting. Tesla's legal team was constantly scrambling to interpret his tweets. The SEC watched every post like hawks. Investors begged him to slow down. But Elon only had one speed, forward. He tweeted while regulators called. He tweeted while lawsuits formed. He tweeted because he understood something they didn't. Attention is not optional. It's oxygen. Without it, his companies didn't survive. Tesla didn't buy Super Bowl ads. SpaceX didn't need press junkets. All they needed was Elon with his phone and a sense of mischief. This meme-powered marketing turned Tesla from a niche EV maker into the most valuable car company on Earth. It gave SpaceX cultural dominance, even over NASA. It created a cult around Elon that blurred business, fandom, and philosophy. To critics, it was a personality cult. To fans, it was a movement. Either way, it was effective. But it wasn't without cost. The persona he built, the meme king, the trickster genius, started to consume him. People didn't just follow Elon for updates. They expected entertainment. Commentary. Chaos. He couldn't stop even if he wanted to. The meme king had to stay funny. Or the kingdom crumbled. There were days when the tweets grew darker. More erratic. He posted about taking Tesla private again. Joked about dying under mysterious circumstances. Challenged Vladimir Putin to a fistfight. Said he was selling all his homes and living in a $50,000 prefab near the SpaceX facility. Was it genius? Was it unraveling? No one could tell. Maybe both. Maybe neither. That was the power of the meme king, he was always half in character. Always holding the line between sincerity and performance. And if people couldn't tell which was which, well, that was part of the game. Elon once said he wanted to be entertaining because the alternative was boring. He understood that if you want people to follow you to Mars, you have to keep them watching. Keep them wondering. Keep them laughing, even when they're nervous. Especially then. That's how influence works in the 21st century. Not just through credentials, but charisma. Not just data, but drama. Elon made himself a one-man show, a network of viral content that couldn't be copied because no one else was that unfiltered, that rich, and that reckless all at once. He wasn't just building machines. He was building myth. A living one. An evolving one. One tweet at a time. So yes, it started as a joke. A meme here. A coin there. But it became a weapon. A strategy. A revolution in how power flows in the age of attention. Elon Musk, the engineer, became Elon Musk, the entertainer. Then Elon Musk, the influencer. Then Elon Musk, the meme king. And all of it was real. And none of it was. The man who wanted to colonize Mars also wanted to make you laugh. Or wince. Or wonder. Because if you were looking, if you were watching, you were already part of the story. You were helping him bend the internet. And that, more than anything, is what Elon figured out first: in a world full of noise, the loudest person wins. Even if they're only speaking in memes. There were nights Elon Musk slept on the factory floor, curled in a sleeping bag, covered in dust and stress, just to save a few minutes walking distance. His office was a makeshift conference room filled with whiteboards, engineering scraps, and empty Red Bull cans. He wasn't pretending to be the face of Tesla, he was Tesla. And at one point, it nearly killed him. By the time most people saw Tesla as a futuristic powerhouse, it had already survived one of the ugliest, most brutal startup sagas in business history. And it was Elon, with his back to the wall and the weight of the company on his spine, who held it together by sheer will. Tesla was founded in 2003 by engineers Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Elon wasn't there at the start. He joined in 2004 as chairman, after investing $6.5 million of his own money. But from the beginning, he wasn't a silent partner. He challenged decisions, pushed timelines, and demanded innovation. The goal was insane. Create an all-electric car that didn't suck. No compromises. No shortcuts. Just performance, design, and zero emissions. It had never been done before. But Elon didn't care. That was the point. He believed in the mission so deeply that logic became irrelevant. His thinking was simple: the world was addicted to fossil fuels, and someone had to break the cycle. Why not him? Why not now? Tesla's first vehicle, the Roadster, was based on a Lotus Elise chassis and powered by lithium-ion batteries, the same kind found in laptops. It was sleek, fast, and groundbreaking. But building it nearly broke the company. Every part had to be redesigned. Costs spiraled out of control. Deadlines were missed. Early prototypes caught fire. Engineers quit. Suppliers pulled out. Internally, tensions rose. Elon clashed with the original founders over direction, speed, and control. Eventually, those founders were pushed out, and Elon took over as CEO in 2008. That same year, everything fell apart. The global financial crisis hit like a bomb. Credit dried up. Investors ran. Tesla was hemorrhaging money, with no clear path to profitability. Elon had already poured nearly all of his PayPal fortune into the company. His friends begged him to stop. His lawyers warned him. His bank account hit zero. At one point, he was borrowing money from friends just to pay rent. And still, he kept going. He divided the last of his money between Tesla and SpaceX, knowing full well that if either failed, he'd be finished. On Christmas Eve 2008, he got the news that NASA had awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. It saved that company. But Tesla? Tesla was still on the edge. Cars weren't getting built fast enough. Quality was inconsistent. The media mocked him. Detroit laughed at him. Industry analysts called Tesla a joke. Bankruptcy loomed. But Elon didn't flinch. He did interviews, answered emails from frustrated customers personally, and flew to factories to demand progress in person. He cut costs, streamlined teams, and made impossible demands that somehow, his team kept meeting. He told them, "We are not dying. Not today." Tesla didn't die. It limped forward, barely breathing. A small loan from Daimler and a federal loan from the Department of Energy kept it afloat. And then, in 2010, something unthinkable happened: Tesla went public. The IPO raised $226 million. Tesla became the first American car company to go public since Ford. It should have been a moment of relief. But it wasn't. Because now, the stakes were higher. The expectations louder. The risks sharper. Elon used the momentum to launch the Model S, a luxury electric sedan that would cement Tesla as a force. It had to be beautiful, fast, and smarter than any other car. No compromises. No excuses. He obsessed over every detail. At one point, he ordered a complete redesign of the car's battery pack just weeks before production. Engineers were furious. He didn't care. He wanted it perfect. The Model S launched in 2012 and blew people away. It was fast. Sleek. A revolution on wheels. Consumer Reports gave it the highest score in their history. The impossible had happened. An electric car had made gasoline look outdated. And still, the fight wasn't over. The next challenge was scale. Elon wanted to bring EVs to the masses. That meant the Model 3, an affordable, mass-market electric car. But building it required a level of manufacturing precision Tesla had never achieved. Elon bet everything again. He built gigafactories, massive, ultra-efficient battery and vehicle plants. He called it, production hell. It wasn't a metaphor. He slept at the Fremont factory for weeks, refusing to leave until problems were solved. When robots failed, he pulled them out and had humans replace them. When people said they couldn't hit production targets, he made them sign a letter promising they would. He tweeted, "I am personally on the line, doing everything I can." And he was. At one point, Tesla was only hours from bankruptcy again. Suppliers weren't being paid. Cars were delayed. Elon described it later as excruciating. He said he never wanted to go through that again. But he would. Because that's what it meant to run Tesla: pain, pressure, and pure adrenaline. In 2018, he had a breakdown during an interview with the New York Times. He cried. Said he was working 120-hour weeks. That he missed his brother's wedding. That he was sleeping in the office and relying on Ambien to fall asleep. People called him unstable. Critics said he was unfit to lead. The stock fell. The board panicked. But Elon pushed through. Again. The Model 3 started rolling off the line in real numbers. Customers loved it. Tesla's stock began to climb. Slowly at first, then explosively. Wall Street analysts who once laughed at him started calling him a genius. Short sellers lost billions. The meme king clapped back on Twitter with jokes and gifs. Tesla wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. In 2020, Tesla became the most valuable carmaker in the world. The company joined the S&P 500. Its stock soared to astronomical heights. And Elon Musk, the man who once borrowed money to pay rent, became the richest person on Earth. But he never forgot the near-death drive. He talked about it openly. The days when he thought everything would collapse. The sleepless nights. The fear. The resolve. He used it as fuel. Every setback became a lesson. Every scar became armor. Tesla wasn't built in boardrooms or marketing departments. It was built in the dark, during all-nighters, on the backs of exhausted engineers and a CEO who refused to quit. People say Elon is lucky. That he's reckless. That he gambles. But they forget, he bets on himself. Every time. And Tesla is the proof. It's not just a car company. It's a statement. That vision matters. That conviction is stronger than fear. That a man can take on Detroit, big oil, and decades of doubt, and win. Today, Tesla leads the EV revolution. Its cars are everywhere. Its software updates itself over the air. Its charging network spans continents. Its competitors are scrambling to catch up. And at the center of it all is Elon, still tweeting, still pushing, still dreaming of faster cars, smarter factories, and a cleaner world. The road was never smooth. It was brutal, twisted, uphill all the way. But Elon didn't build Tesla to be easy. He built it because it was necessary. Because someone had to. And when the world said it couldn't be done, Elon hit the accelerator and drove straight through the doubt. The first time Elon Musk said out loud that he wanted to die on Mars, just not on impact, people laughed. It sounded like a joke. Like something a billionaire would say after a few drinks on a yacht. But Elon wasn't joking. He never was about space. Long before he was the richest man alive, before Tesla became a household name, before memes and crypto and chaos, Elon had one goal: make humanity a multiplanetary species. It wasn't a dream. It was a necessity. To him, Earth was fragile, too fragile. A single asteroid, a war, a virus, an AI gone rogue, and it could all be over. Humans had no backup plan. No second home. We were living on the edge of a cosmic cliff. And Elon refused to accept that. So in 2002, using part of the money he earned from PayPal, he founded SpaceX. At the time, it was a joke in the aerospace community. Who starts a rocket company from scratch? Who thinks they can compete with giants like Boeing or Lockheed Martin? Who thinks they can out-NASA? Elon did. And he wasn't bluffing. He read every rocket book he could get his hands on. Hired the smartest engineers he could find. Showed up to every design meeting. Asked impossible questions. Slept in the factory. Again. And again. He learned orbital dynamics the way most people learn to ride a bike, by crashing. The first 3 launches of the Falcon 1 rocket failed. One exploded mid-air. Another spun out of control. Millions of dollars burned in seconds. SpaceX was on the edge of collapse. Everyone told him to quit. That it was over. That he was delusional. But Elon had one rule: never stop. In 2008, with only enough money for one final launch, they tried again. Falcon 1 reached orbit. It was the first privately built liquid-fueled rocket to do so. That single success changed everything. NASA took notice. Contracts followed. Then came Falcon 9, a larger, more powerful rocket. Then the Dragon capsule. Then a bold new mission: build reusable rockets. Everyone said it was impossible. Rockets were supposed to be one-time use: launch, burn, crash into the ocean. But Elon hated waste. He wanted rockets that could land themselves and fly again, like airplanes. So he built them. And failed. Over and over. Rockets exploded on landing pads. Crashed into the sea. Caught fire mid-air. Twitter called them #failcon. Elon just kept testing. Every failure taught him something. Every disaster made the system better. Until one day, in 2015, it worked. A Falcon 9 booster descended from orbit and landed upright on a landing pad, smoke curling like a magician's final bow. The impossible was now routine. And suddenly, space was affordable. That changed everything. SpaceX became the dominant force in launch. Costs dropped. Payloads increased. Reliability soared. NASA began outsourcing major missions to Elon. Satellites, resupply runs to the ISS, and eventually astronauts themselves. In 2020, the Crew Dragon capsule successfully carried humans to the International Space Station, an American spacecraft launching from American soil for the first time in nearly a decade. And it wasn't built by a government. It was built by Elon's private team of sleep-deprived engineers in a warehouse in Hawthorne, California. But it still wasn't enough. Because low Earth orbit wasn't the dream. Mars was. Always Mars. Colonizing the red planet became his obsession. He talked about it in interviews. Sketched it out on napkins. Tweeted about it at 2 a.m. He knew what it would take: a massive rocket. Fully reusable. Capable of carrying hundreds of tons of cargo. It would need to refuel in orbit. It would need to survive deep space radiation. And it would need to land on Mars, then take off again. So he started building it. The Starship program began as a crude, steel tank welded together in the dusty heat of Boca Chica, Texas. Critics called it tin can science. But Elon didn't care about aesthetics. He cared about thrust. About efficiency. About progress. The first Starship prototypes looked like something from a 1950s comic book. They rose into the sky, hovered, twisted, and crashed. Again and again. Explosions lit up the Texas sky. Memes followed. But each crash taught them more. In 2021, a Starship prototype finally landed intact. The crowd watching on the live stream screamed. Engineers wept. Elon grinned like a kid on Christmas morning. They were doing it. They were really doing it. The goal was clear: send cargo missions to Mars in the 2020s. Humans in the 2030s. Build a self-sustaining city by the end of the century. Not a research station. A city. With homes. Shops. Families. Oxygen. Water. Crops. Elon's vision wasn't just about exploration, it was about survival. He saw Mars as insurance. A backup drive for humanity. A chance to reboot if Earth failed. People mocked him. Still do. They say it's impossible. That he's chasing science fiction. That no one wants to live on a cold, airless rock millions of miles away. But Elon sees further. He sees generations from now. He sees children playing under Martian domes. He sees history books that say we almost didn't make it, but someone believed we could. Colonizing Mars isn't just about rockets. It's about hope. About proving we're not trapped. That humanity can do more than destroy. That we can build. Adapt. Dream. It's a mission powered not just by engines, but by faith. And it's personal. For Elon, space is sacred. When he talks about Mars, his voice changes. Softer. More reverent. This isn't a side project. This is his legacy. The thing he'll be remembered for long after the memes fade and the market shifts. He once said, "I want to be remembered as someone who did useful things." Mars is the most useful thing he can imagine. Not everyone gets it. That's fine. Elon isn't trying to convince everyone. He's building the future regardless. And if you want to come, there might be a seat on the rocket. But don't expect luxury. Don't expect comfort. Expect danger. Pain. Fear. And glory. Because this isn't a vacation. It's an exodus. The next great frontier. SpaceX is already testing orbital launches. Already building towers as tall as skyscrapers to catch falling boosters mid-air. Already planning Starlink satellite arrays to provide internet for Mars missions. This is not a drill. It's happening. Slowly. Messily. Brilliantly. Elon knows he might not live to see it fully happen. But he's okay with that. Because the point isn't personal glory. It's momentum. If he can start the process, if he can show it's possible, others will continue it. He doesn't need to finish the race. He just needs to make sure the race begins. And he has. Against all odds. Against physics and politics and public doubt. Elon Musk has made Mars a real destination. Not for a nation. Not for profit. But for people. For the species. For the story of who we are. One day, the first child born on Mars will take their first breath inside a pressurized dome, unaware of the chaos and brilliance it took to make that possible. They won't know the crashes. The ridicule. The risk. But they'll be alive. And that will be enough. That will make it all worth it. Elon may not die on Mars. But thanks to him, someone will live there. No one saw it coming. Not like this. Not from him. Elon Musk, the man of rockets, electric cars, and Martian dreams, suddenly became the owner of one of the most chaotic platforms on Earth. Twitter. What started as a few sarcastic tweets turned into one of the most dramatic, controversial, and surreal corporate takeovers in modern history. But Elon wasn't joking. He never was when he pushed the limits. The story began with a tweet, naturally. In early 2022, Elon posted a poll asking if Twitter protected free speech. A simple question. One that stirred up thousands of replies, heated debates, and, quietly, a plan. At the time, Elon had already been quietly buying shares of Twitter stock. A little here, a little there, until he became the largest individual shareholder. The internet lit up. Was he trying to influence the company? Join the board? Reform the platform from the inside? But Elon refused to play by the script. A week later, he made a move no one expected. An offer to buy Twitter outright. Not a partnership. Not a seat at the table. Total control. $44 billion. Cash. No games. Executives at Twitter were stunned. Boardrooms froze. Shareholders debated. Analysts choked on their coffee. Twitter was a public square, yes, but it was also a business, a brand, a fragile beast held together by content moderation and precarious ad revenue. And now, the world's richest man, a meme-slinging disruptor, wanted to take it private. Some thought it was a stunt. A troll with a bank account. But Elon pushed forward. In his offer letter, he said Twitter needed to be transformed as a private company to uphold free speech and unlock its full potential. But what did that mean? No one could agree. To some, he was a hero for fighting censorship. To others, a danger to democracy. Lawsuits erupted. Lawyers circled. At one point, Elon tried to walk away, citing bot problems and fake account data. Twitter sued. The drama unfolded like a courtroom thriller on social media itself, with Elon tweeting memes about the very legal battle he was in. But the pressure mounted. In October 2022, he completed the deal. $44 billion. Done. Elon Musk owned Twitter. And the moment he walked into headquarters holding a sink, tweeting, "Let that sink in," was a cultural reset. Then everything exploded. The first thing he did? Fire the top executives. CEO, CFO, head of legal, all gone. Then came the mass layoffs. Thousands of employees locked out of their emails overnight. Engineers. Designers. Entire teams. Gone in days. The press called it reckless. Brutal. But Elon called it necessary. Twitter, he said, was bloated, inefficient, losing money. If it was going to survive, it had to be rebuilt from scratch. And Elon was the demolition crew. He renamed it X in 2023, a rebrand that confused many, frustrated others, and thrilled a few. To Elon, it wasn't random. He'd been obsessed with X for decades, from X.com, his early online banking startup, to SpaceX. To him, X meant unknown variables, future potential, something bigger than tweets. Twitter wasn't just a social platform anymore, it was a prototype. For what? Elon envisioned an everything app, banking, messaging, payments, video, commerce, all in one place. Like WeChat in China. But global. Decentralized. Wild. His version of a digital town square where anyone could speak, pay, build, and connect. But first, he had to survive the chaos. And chaos came fast. Advertisers pulled out. Content moderation teams were slashed. Disinformation soared. Fake accounts bought verification checkmarks for $8. Suddenly, parody accounts of corporations caused stock dips. A fake Eli Lilly account tweeted that insulin was free, causing a brief market tumble. The platform's reputation spiraled. Elon responded with more tweets. More memes. He made jokes. He fought journalists. He posted late-night polls about major policy decisions. Should he reinstate banned users? Should he step down as CEO? At one point, 57.5% of voters said yes. And he said he would. But didn't. Not right away. Twitter/X became an extension of Elon himself. It reflected his impulses, his freedom-loving ethos, his impatience with bureaucracy. But it also exposed something deeper, his obsession with control. On other platforms, he played the game. On Twitter, he owned the game. And he didn't hesitate to use it. He released the Twitter Files, a series of internal documents showing how the old regime handled censorship, content moderation, and pressure from governments. To his fans, it was proof of corruption. To critics, it was selective leaking. To Elon, it was transparency. It was chaos. Every day brought new headlines. Twitter/X became a testing ground for Elon's rawest ideas. He encouraged long-form content. Built-in payments. Experimented with video monetization. Brought creators onto the platform. And always pushed the idea that speech should be as free as possible. If that meant tolerating offensive voices, so be it. If that meant being labeled dangerous, fine. The bird is freed, he tweeted after taking over. But some wondered, freed for what? For who? Many users left. Others came back. Celebrities clashed. Governments pushed back. The EU warned of regulatory violations. Lawsuits stacked up. Through it all, Elon kept tweeting. Kept posting memes. Kept reshaping the platform in his image. Not because he needed the money. He didn't. Twitter was a money pit. It lost billions in value under his watch. But Elon wasn't after profit. He was after influence. After reach. After a megaphone powerful enough to echo across industries, ideologies, and continents. He already controlled transportation. Space. Energy. Now he controlled the flow of digital speech. He became the most followed person on the platform. Not a president. Not a pop star. A CEO. A builder. A lightning rod. And the line between his personal identity and Twitter/X's brand blurred completely. If Elon liked your tweet, you went viral. If he mocked you, you felt it for days. If he banned you, good luck appealing. He was judge, jury, and algorithm. And somehow, the platform didn't die. Despite everything. Despite the exodus. Despite the fury. It survived. Changed. Morphed. Adapted. Like Elon himself. Messy. Resilient. Unpredictable. The takeover didn't just reshape Twitter. It reshaped Elon. It showed the world his rawest version, unfiltered, uncensored, unapologetic. A man who couldn't be managed. Who didn't care about quarterly reports. Who would rather burn the system down than compromise his vision. But it also revealed the cracks. The volatility. The consequences of absolute power. Owning Twitter/X made Elon more visible than ever, and more vulnerable. Every tweet became policy. Every policy became politics. And every decision made the world ask, is this genius? Or chaos? Or both? Elon didn't answer. He never does. He just keeps going. Building. Posting. Provoking. Because to him, the Twitter takeover wasn't just a business move. It was a philosophical one. A belief that the future doesn't belong to the polite. It belongs to the bold. And Elon Musk is nothing if not bold. So now, Twitter/X lives on as a platform unlike any other. Not perfect. Not polished. But alive. Evolving. And deeply, unmistakably Elon. You can love it. You can hate it. But you can't ignore it. Not anymore. Not while the meme king holds the mic. Behind the public spectacle, the rockets, and the relentless hustle, Elon Musk's private life was a labyrinth of complexities, contradictions, and quiet pain. Family was something he never flaunted, but it shaped him more than any headline could reveal. His story was never just about technology or memes. It was about the tangled web of fathers, sons, daughters, and the invisible fractures that defined a man chasing impossible dreams. Elon was born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, to May and Errol Musk. His mother, May, was a model and dietitian, strong-willed and determined. His father, Errol, a South African electromechanical engineer, had a different influence. Errol was a man of contradictions, brilliant yet often harsh, affectionate but distant. Elon's relationship with him was complicated, marked by admiration for his intellect but also by a deep emotional distance that left scars. Elon once described his childhood as difficult. He was an introverted, bookish kid, often bullied at school. The weight of expectation from a family rooted in technical excellence and accomplishment pressed on him early. His father's tough love was both motivation and source of pain. Elon escaped into books, coding, and dreams of the stars. He poured himself into science fiction and technology as both refuge and roadmap. But the wounds ran deep. When Elon moved to Canada at 17 to escape South Africa's apartheid and forge a new path, the distance from his family grew. He would often return for visits, but the emotional chasm remained. His parents divorced when he was young, adding another layer of upheaval. Family wasn't a simple unit for Elon, it was a battlefield of loyalty and longing. Love and tension. Later in life, as he built his empire, family continued to be a source of both inspiration and challenge. He fathered multiple children, some out of the public eye. His first son, Nevada Alexander, tragically died of sudden infant death syndrome at 10 weeks old. The grief was profound but largely private. It shaped how Elon viewed mortality, loss, and the fragility of life, the very reasons he wanted to push humanity beyond Earth. Yet, despite his growing fame and wealth, Elon's relationships often struggled under the weight of his ambitions. His marriages and partnerships were marked by intense highs and devastating lows. His first marriage to Justine Wilson, a Canadian author, was a union forged in the crucible of early startups and sleepless nights. They shared dreams and heartbreaks, had 5 children together, including twins and triplets through IVF. But the demands of Elon's relentless work ethic and personality clashes took their toll. Eventually, they divorced amid public scrutiny and personal pain. Justine spoke openly about the challenges of loving a man who was both extraordinary and emotionally distant. Elon's next relationship with Tallulah Riley, a British actress, was similarly tumultuous, married twice, divorced twice, reflecting a cycle of passion, separation, and reconciliation. Amidst these personal upheavals, Elon's children remained a source of grounding and mystery. He rarely spoke about them publicly, protective of their privacy even as his own life unfolded under a microscope. His role as a father was often overshadowed by his role as a CEO, inventor, and media figure. Friends described him as a loving father but one stretched thin by the demands of his public life. Yet family wasn't just about blood for Elon. It was also about the teams he built, the people he trusted, the communities he tried to create. SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, and Twitter became extended families of a kind, places where loyalty and conflict coexisted, where people endured harsh conditions for a shared mission. But those bonds could be fragile, and the pressure cooker environment sometimes tore people apart. Elon's relationship with his siblings, particularly his younger brother Kimball, revealed another dimension. Kimball was both a business partner and a source of personal support. The brothers shared childhood memories and a vision for entrepreneurship, though their paths diverged. Kimball focused on food sustainability and community building, offering a softer contrast to Elon's cosmic ambitions. Yet even within family, fractures ran deep. Elon's public clashes with his father over business and personal issues occasionally spilled into social media, revealing old wounds that had never fully healed. The Musk family story was a reminder that genius often walks hand in hand with turmoil, that the line between love and pain can blur when stakes are high and personalities clash. Through it all, Elon wrestled with what it meant to be a father and a son. To carry legacies forward while trying to build new ones. To balance the loneliness of leadership with the human need for connection. As he pushed the boundaries of technology and space, he was also navigating the complex gravity of family bonds, some holding him steady, others threatening to pull him apart. The public saw the relentless innovator, the meme king turned tech emperor, but beneath the surface was a man grappling with loss, love, and the weight of expectations that had been placed on him since childhood. Family shaped his fears and fueled his drive. It reminded him of what was at stake, not just for himself, but for the future of those he loved. When asked about his motivations, Elon often circled back to legacy and survival. Not just of humanity, but of his own bloodline. He spoke about wanting to build a future where his children and grandchildren could thrive, free from the dangers that haunted the present. This deep personal mission often collided with the brutal realities of business and innovation. His decisions could alienate those closest to him. His absence was a constant complaint. Yet those who stayed close saw flashes of tenderness, a father's quiet pride at a child's accomplishment, a late-night phone call to check in, a small gesture of support amidst the chaos. But these moments were rare. Elon's life was a balancing act between ambition and intimacy, success and sacrifice. It was the story of a man who reached for the stars but struggled to hold on to the people on Earth. And perhaps that was the most human part of his saga, the tension between soaring dreams and fragile relationships, between the public persona and private heartaches. As Elon Musk moved forward, colonizing Mars and reshaping the digital world, family remained both his anchor and his undoing. It was the quiet backdrop to the noise of fame and fortune. The hidden current beneath the roar of rockets and tweets. The story of a tech emperor who, despite all the power, was still a son searching for his place, and a father hoping to leave a better world. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As Elon Musk conquered the skies and roads, he was never content with just transforming the outside world. His ambitions soon reached inward, into the very essence of human consciousness. The frontier he chose next was perhaps the most daring and controversial of all, merging man and machine to unlock the mind's hidden potential. This chapter of Elon's journey began quietly, almost imperceptibly, as whispers of a secretive project called Neuralink started to circulate in Silicon Valley. But to Elon, Neuralink was no secret. It was a vision decades in the making, the culmination of everything he'd learned about technology, biology, and human limitations. The goal was staggering: develop a brain-machine interface that could treat neurological diseases, enhance cognitive function, and ultimately allow humans to communicate directly with computers, blurring the line between biology and technology forever. The idea came from Elon's persistent frustration with the constraints of the human body and brain. He often spoke about how the pace of artificial intelligence development risked outstripping human capabilities. "If you can't beat them, join them," he said in interviews. Neuralink was his attempt to keep humanity relevant in a world rapidly being transformed by AI. But the path was far from straightforward. Developing a device that could be safely implanted in the brain, read neural signals with precision, and transmit data wirelessly posed staggering scientific and engineering challenges. Early prototypes looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, tiny flexible threads thinner than a human hair, designed to interface with neurons without damaging brain tissue. The first public demonstration in 2019 was electrifying yet unsettling. Elon unveiled a pig named Gertrude implanted with the Neuralink device, showcasing real-time brain activity as she sniffed objects. The reaction was a mixture of awe and unease. Some called it a breakthrough for medicine and human potential. Others warned of ethical dilemmas and dystopian futures. But Elon pushed on. Neuralink was not just about medical miracles, it was about the next step in evolution. He spoke candidly about wanting to achieve symbiosis with artificial intelligence, a way to protect humanity from being left behind by its own creations. The metaphor was clear: humans needed a neural lace to keep up with machines. Behind the scenes, the Neuralink team worked around the clock in a sterile lab filled with buzzing machinery, surgical robots, and endless lines of code. Elon's presence was both a blessing and a pressure cooker. Known for his relentless standards, he pushed engineers and scientists to innovate faster than anyone believed possible. Early animal tests showed promise, but also raised profound questions. Implanting devices in living brains was inherently risky. Neuralink had to navigate a maze of regulatory hurdles, ethical debates, and public skepticism. Elon's approach was unorthodox. Instead of waiting for years of traditional clinical trials, he advocated for rapid iteration, testing, refining, and deploying as soon as safety thresholds were met. Critics accused him of recklessness. Supporters saw him as a visionary willing to challenge the status quo. Yet the human trials were slow to begin. In 2023, Neuralink announced plans for initial human implants focused on patients with spinal cord injuries and neurological disorders. The goal: restore mobility, speech, or sensory function through direct brain control of computers and prosthetics. For many, it was a beacon of hope. A chance to regain independence lost to illness or injury. For Elon, it was a validation of a dream born in childhood, when he first imagined the power of technology to overcome biological limits. But Neuralink wasn't just medicine. Elon saw it as the ultimate interface, where humans could upload thoughts, memories, and experiences. In his mind, the future was a seamless merger of mind and machine. But this vision brought philosophical and ethical dilemmas as old as humanity itself. What does it mean to be human if your thoughts are digital? Could such technology be weaponized, exploited, or abused? How do you protect privacy when your brain is wired to the internet? Elon was aware of these concerns but believed the risks of inaction were greater. If we don't enhance ourselves, he warned, we risk becoming irrelevant in a future dominated by AI. Neuralink's progress also reflected Elon's own evolving mindset. He was no longer just the meme king or tech emperor, he was a futurist wrestling with the profound implications of his inventions. The intensity of the work began to affect him personally. Late nights in the lab. Endless debates with ethicists and regulators. Moments of doubt tempered by flashes of breakthrough. At one point, Elon confided to close friends that Neuralink was the hardest project he'd ever taken on, far more complex and uncertain than rockets or electric cars. But failure was not an option. The stakes were existential. The media coverage was relentless. Headlines ranged from Elon Musk's Neuralink, humanity's salvation or sci-fi nightmare, to inside the race to build the brain-computer interface that will change everything. Public opinion was split. Some hailed Neuralink as a miracle in the making. Others feared a dystopia where privacy vanished and control shifted to corporations and governments. Elon's response was characteristically blunt: technology will march on whether we like it or not. The question is who controls it. Through the noise, Neuralink quietly made strides. Patients with paralysis began to use implanted devices to control computer cursors and robotic arms. The medical community took notice, cautiously optimistic. Elon's vision of a future where technology could heal and enhance was inching closer to reality. But Neuralink also challenged fundamental beliefs about identity, autonomy, and consciousness. Philosophers debated the implications of mind uploading. Scientists questioned how much of the self could be digitized. Elon himself sometimes pondered the paradox: how a man so focused on breaking barriers still wrestled with the mystery of the mind. In interviews, he revealed glimpses of vulnerability, speaking about his own struggles with mental health, loneliness, and the burden of expectation. Neuralink wasn't just a project, it was part of his search for meaning in a rapidly changing world. For all the headlines and controversies, Neuralink remained an ambitious gamble on the future. A bet that humans could transcend biology and merge with technology to survive and thrive. A vision of evolution redefined by silicon and neurons. As Elon Musk pushed this frontier, he knew the road ahead would be filled with obstacles, technical, ethical, and existential. But the promise was irresistible, a world where disabilities could be cured, thoughts could be shared instantly, and human potential could be unleashed like never before. And in that promise lay the core of Elon's mission. Not just to build companies or conquer space, but to push the limits of what it means to be human. The neural frontier was no longer science fiction. It was happening. And Elon Musk was leading the charge. Elon Musk's obsession with Mars wasn't just about exploration or prestige, it was about survival, legacy, and the very future of humanity. Long before SpaceX's rockets soared into the sky, Elon carried a vision deep in his bones, making humans a multiplanetary species. This was no mere fantasy but a calculated gambit against extinction, a cosmic insurance policy for a civilization at risk. The story of Elon's Mars gambit began in the mid-2000s, years before the world had any idea of his intentions. Back then, most saw Mars as the stuff of science fiction, red dust and distant dreams. But Elon saw it differently. He believed that Earth's environment, political instability, or catastrophic events could one day threaten life itself. Colonizing Mars was a way to ensure the survival of consciousness, culture, and human ambition beyond this fragile blue dot. His determination was fueled by childhood readings of sci-fi authors like Isaac Asimov and Robert Heinlein, and by his own relentless curiosity about space and the cosmos. The first challenge was building rockets that could travel cheaply and reliably to orbit, and beyond. SpaceX's early years were filled with failures that would have broken lesser men. Rockets exploded on launch pads. Funding ran dangerously low. Investors doubted. But Elon refused to quit. He invested his own money, lived on the edge of bankruptcy, and pushed his engineers to innovate. The Falcon 1 rocket's first successful flight in 2008 marked a turning point. Suddenly, SpaceX was no longer a hopeful startup but a serious contender. Elon's focus sharpened. The goal was clear: build a reusable rocket powerful enough to ferry humans and cargo to Mars. The Falcon 9 and later the Starship prototypes embodied this ambition: massive, complex machines designed to land and take off multiple times, slashing launch costs dramatically. But rockets were only the beginning. Mars was a hostile, unforgiving planet with a thin atmosphere, brutal radiation, and temperatures that plunged far below freezing. Elon and his team had to envision every detail of a sustainable colony, from life support systems to food production, from energy to shelter. Each element required cutting-edge technology and unrelenting problem-solving. In 2016, Elon unveiled SpaceX's ambitious Mars plan, sending cargo ships first, followed by crewed missions within a decade. The announcement electrified the world but also drew skepticism. Critics called it reckless, unrealistic, or even delusional. But Elon's supporters saw the boldness as necessary. He famously declared, "I want to die on Mars, just not on impact," capturing his personal stake in the mission. Behind the scenes, Elon's Mars gambit was more than a business venture, it was an emotional and philosophical crusade. He imagined the first settlers, scientists, engineers, dreamers, braving unimaginable hardships to build a new home. The colony would represent humanity's courage and resilience, a fresh start for generations to come. Yet the human cost weighed on Elon. He grappled with the risks of sending people into deep space, the loneliness of being a pioneer in a lonely universe, and the heartbreak of possible loss. Friends close to him described moments when Elon, usually a fountain of energy and optimism, showed rare glimpses of vulnerability, contemplating the weight of responsibility for lives in the balance. The engineering feats were staggering. SpaceX developed the Starship rocket, a behemoth designed to carry over 100 passengers and tons of cargo to Mars and back. Testing was fraught with explosions and setbacks, but each failure brought new data and lessons. Elon's hands-on leadership style, often tweeting, visiting the launch site, and debating engineers late into the night, kept the project moving forward. The media coverage followed every launch attempt with breathless intensity. SpaceX became synonymous with Mars ambitions, turning Elon into the face of humanity's future in space. But the challenges extended beyond technology. Political hurdles, international treaties, and ethical questions loomed large. Could a private company claim territory on another planet? Who would govern the colony? How would resources be shared? Elon engaged with global leaders and scientists, advocating for cooperation but also emphasizing urgency. His vision was a unifying call to push beyond Earth's divisions toward a shared destiny. As launch windows opened and Starship prototypes took to the skies, public enthusiasm soared. Elon's Mars Gambit inspired a new generation of scientists, engineers, and space enthusiasts. Schools launched programs in STEM, startups pursued space technologies, and governments expanded their own programs inspired by SpaceX's audacity. Yet not everyone was captivated. Some feared the focus on Mars detracted from Earth's pressing problems, climate change, poverty, and inequality. Critics accused Elon of escapism or hubris. But Elon responded with conviction. He believed Earth's challenges and Mars exploration were not mutually exclusive but interconnected. Colonizing Mars would drive innovation and inspire solutions for Earth's crises. As SpaceX prepared for the first uncrewed cargo missions, Elon's personal story intertwined ever deeper with the Mars Gambit. He publicly announced plans to send his own children and family members to Mars someday, underscoring the intimate nature of the mission. He saw Mars as a second chance, not just for humanity, but for his own legacy. Yet the journey was far from certain. Technical hurdles remained enormous. Funding was always precarious. The physical and psychological toll on astronauts was daunting. The timeline kept shifting, and delays tested public patience. Still, Elon remained undeterred, pushing toward the horizon with relentless focus. The Mars Gambit was the culmination of a lifetime of risk-taking, innovation, and dreaming beyond limits. It represented Elon Musk's ultimate wager, not just on technology, but on the human spirit's capacity to survive and thrive against all odds. As the countdown to the first crewed Mars mission approached, the world watched with bated breath. Elon's gamble was no longer a distant fantasy but a tangible step toward a new era. The stakes were cosmic. Success could redefine humanity's future, failure could mean tragedy on a scale few had imagined. But Elon's story was always about defying odds, challenging conventions, and reaching for stars others dared not touch. Mars was the final frontier, the ultimate test of vision, resilience, and faith. And Elon Musk was ready to lead the charge, armed with rockets, determination, and a dream that would echo through history. In 2022, the world's social media landscape shifted in a way no one saw coming. Elon Musk, already known as the meme king, tech innovator, and space pioneer, took on a new and unexpected battlefield, Twitter. The move stunned observers and ignited a firestorm of debate, drama, and disruption that would forever change both the platform and Musk's public image. Elon's interest in Twitter wasn't a sudden whim. It was, in many ways, the next phase of his lifelong obsession with communication, influence, and shaping public discourse. He had long used Twitter as a megaphone for his ideas, jokes, and announcements, sometimes sparking controversy, sometimes inspiring millions. But owning Twitter was a whole different game. The story began with a simple tweet. Elon disclosed a significant stake in Twitter, signaling his intent to influence the company's future. The news sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and global media. Twitter's board initially resisted, wary of Elon's unpredictable style and the challenges of integrating such a high-profile figure. But Musk was relentless. Negotiations followed, full of twists and turns, dramatic public statements, legal battles, and surprise moves. In October 2022, Elon completed the acquisition for $44 billion, turning Twitter into a private company under his control. The Twitter revolution had begun. Elon's vision for Twitter was radical and controversial. He spoke about free speech as a fundamental value, promising to reduce content moderation and promote open dialogue. To him, Twitter was the digital town square, a place where ideas should flow freely without the cancel culture or censorship he often criticized. But critics worried this approach would unleash chaos, hate speech, misinformation, and harassment. The immediate aftermath was turbulent. Elon initiated sweeping changes, firing top executives, reshuffling teams, and rapidly changing policies. The platform's culture shifted overnight. Advertisers pulled back amid uncertainty, and some users feared the loss of community safety. Yet others welcomed the new era of openness, praising Elon for shaking up what they saw as a stagnant tech giant. The Twitter revolution wasn't just about policy, it was a psychological and cultural upheaval. Elon's hands-on, often impulsive leadership style permeated every corner of the company. His daily tweets set the tone, sometimes humorous, sometimes cryptic, sometimes confrontational. Employees described an environment of intense pressure and rapid change, where the usual rules no longer applied. The tension was palpable. Behind the scenes, Elon faced mounting challenges. Technical glitches, user backlash, regulatory scrutiny, and financial pressures converged. The platform's stability and reputation were on the line. Yet Elon doubled down, believing that disruption was necessary to revitalize Twitter's mission. The acquisition also revealed a more human side of Elon. He grappled with the weight of responsibility for a platform that shaped global conversation, aware of the power and danger that came with it. Late nights and heated debates became routine, and Elon sometimes expressed frustration over the scale of the task. But he also reveled in the impact, pushing new features, amplifying voices, and fostering innovation. The Twitter revolution sparked global conversations about technology, democracy, and the limits of free speech. Governments, activists, and everyday users weighed in, some accusing Elon of recklessness, others of bravery. The debate touched on fundamental questions: how do you balance freedom with responsibility? What role should platforms play in shaping society? Elon's acquisition became a case study in power, influence, and the collision of technology with culture. For Elon personally, the Twitter revolution was also a test of character. It exposed his strengths, vision, resilience, boldness, and his vulnerabilities, impulsiveness, conflicts, and contradictions. His public image evolved once more, from the enigmatic innovator to a controversial figure polarizing the world's attention. Yet despite the chaos, one thing remained clear: Elon's impact on Twitter was profound and lasting. The platform's direction, policies, and culture would never be the same. And Elon, in his typical fashion, had upended expectations and forced a global reckoning with the future of online communication. The Twitter revolution was more than a business deal, it was a bold, disruptive experiment in democracy, technology, and human connection. It reflected Elon's complex vision of a world where ideas flow freely, technology empowers individuals, and boundaries are pushed relentlessly. As Twitter evolved under his stewardship, the world watched closely. Some with hope, others with apprehension. But no one could deny the power of Elon Musk's latest gambit. It was a reminder that in a world defined by constant change, one man's vision could still shake the foundations of society itself. Elon Musk's fascination with artificial intelligence was as deep and conflicted as his love for space exploration. From the very beginning of his career, he understood AI's enormous potential to transform the world, and the terrifying risks it posed if left unchecked. The AI gamble was not just a technological challenge for Elon, it was a moral and existential battle that would shape the future of humanity. Elon's warnings about AI often sounded like science fiction prophecy. He frequently cautioned that without proper oversight, AI could surpass human intelligence and become uncontrollable, threatening civilization itself. This stance set him apart from many in Silicon Valley, where AI was mostly celebrated for its commercial promise and innovation. Yet Elon's warnings were rooted in decades of study and personal reflection. He saw AI as a double-edged sword, a tool that could either elevate humanity to new heights or bring catastrophic consequences if misused or misunderstood. His anxiety about AI grew even as he invested heavily in technology startups and projects that harnessed machine learning and automation. The paradox was clear: Elon wanted to push AI forward, but only on his terms, with safeguards and ethical guardrails firmly in place. In 2015, Elon co-founded OpenAI, an organization dedicated to developing AI in a safe and transparent way, to counterbalance unchecked corporate and military AI development. He envisioned OpenAI as a way to democratize AI and ensure it benefited all of humanity rather than a privileged few. The early years of OpenAI brought hope and excitement. Groundbreaking research led to advances in natural language processing, robotics, and deep learning. Elon's involvement lent the organization credibility and attracted top talent. But even as OpenAI flourished, Elon's public statements grew more urgent and cautionary. He warned governments to prepare for AI regulation, urged industry leaders to collaborate on safety standards, and spoke openly about the ethical dilemmas AI presented. The AI gamble came into sharper focus with the rise of powerful models capable of generating realistic text, images, and even deepfakes. Elon saw these breakthroughs as harbingers of a future where AI could manipulate truth, undermine democracy, and blur the line between reality and fiction. Yet despite the risks, he remained optimistic about AI's potential to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges, from climate change and disease to space travel and education. The tension between hope and fear drove Elon's complex relationship with AI. It also influenced his leadership style, part visionary, part watchdog. He pushed SpaceX and Tesla to adopt AI-driven technologies for autonomous vehicles and rocket landing systems while continuing to advocate for caution and oversight. Elon's warnings sometimes sparked backlash. Critics accused him of fearmongering or exaggerating AI's dangers. But supporters saw him as a necessary voice of reason in an industry intoxicated with hype. Behind the scenes, Elon engaged in intense debates with AI researchers, ethicists, and policymakers. He sought to balance innovation with responsibility, urging the community to confront uncomfortable questions about control, transparency, and human values. The AI gamble was not without personal cost. Elon revealed that grappling with AI's implications kept him awake at night, fueled his moments of doubt, and sometimes isolated him from peers who disagreed with his views. Yet his resolve never wavered. In 2023, Elon made headlines by warning that AI development had entered a new phase, one requiring urgent global cooperation to prevent runaway scenarios. He called for international agreements akin to nuclear non-proliferation treaties to regulate advanced AI systems. The world listened, but concrete action lagged behind. Meanwhile, Elon's companies continued to integrate AI into their core products. Tesla's autopilot system evolved rapidly, promising safer, more efficient driving. SpaceX relied on AI algorithms to optimize rocket launches and navigation. Neuralink sought to interface AI directly with the human brain, pushing the boundaries of mind and machine fusion. The intertwining of Elon's AI ventures embodied the gamble itself, a high-stakes bet that humanity could master the technology before it mastered us. The story of AI in Elon's life was also a story of paradox and growth. From youthful optimism about technological progress to mature awareness of risks, Elon's journey mirrored the broader human struggle to harness power responsibly. His willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, advocate for ethics, and invest in safety distinguished him from many in the tech world. As AI systems grew more sophisticated and integrated into daily life, Elon's voice remained a beacon, sometimes warning, sometimes inspiring, always challenging the status quo. The AI gamble was far from over. Elon Musk knew the stakes would only rise as machines became smarter, faster, and more autonomous. But he also believed in humanity's capacity to adapt, innovate, and survive. AI could be the best or worst thing to happen to humanity, he said in one interview. The outcome depends on us. That belief fueled Elon's relentless pursuit of solutions, whether through technology, policy, or dialogue. It was a gamble with no guarantees, but for Elon Musk, the alternative was unthinkable, surrendering the future to forces we could no longer control. In the grand arc of his life, the AI gamble stood as one of the most profound challenges and legacies, a testament to a man who dared to dream of a better world while confronting the shadows cast by his own creations. Elon Musk's ambition to transform the world's energy landscape was as bold and relentless as his space dreams. The solar empire wasn't built overnight, it was forged through vision, innovation, and a deep conviction that humanity's future depended on clean, sustainable power. Long before Tesla's electric cars became household names, Elon saw the necessity of revolutionizing how energy was produced and consumed on Earth. His journey into solar energy began with the acquisition of SolarCity in 2016, a company founded by his cousins but deeply aligned with his vision for a green energy future. Despite criticism that the deal was nepotistic or risky, Elon viewed it as a crucial step toward integrating renewable power with electric vehicles and energy storage solutions. The goal was clear: create an ecosystem where solar panels, batteries, and electric cars worked seamlessly to reduce dependence on fossil fuels and lower carbon emissions. Elon's vision for the solar empire extended beyond business. It was a fight against climate change, a moral imperative to protect the planet for future generations. He often spoke passionately about the urgency of adopting clean energy and the catastrophic consequences of inaction. Yet the path was far from smooth. SolarCity faced operational challenges, intense competition, and financial pressures. Critics questioned the viability of large-scale solar adoption, pointing to high costs and infrastructure limitations. But Elon was undeterred. He believed that innovation, scale, and integration could overcome these obstacles. Under his leadership, Tesla accelerated the development of the Powerwall and PowerPack battery systems, energy storage solutions designed to store solar power efficiently and provide backup during outages. These technologies were game changers, enabling homes, businesses, and utilities to rely more on renewable energy and less on unstable grids. Elon's commitment to the solar empire was evident in projects like the Gigafactory in Nevada, a massive facility dedicated to producing batteries and solar products at unprecedented scale. The factory symbolized Elon's approach: solve complex problems through engineering, economies of scale, and vertical integration. The Gigafactory wasn't just a manufacturing plant, it was a beacon of hope for a sustainable future. Elon also pushed boundaries in solar panel design and installation. Tesla's acquisition of solar roof technology aimed to transform rooftops into efficient energy generators that blended seamlessly with home aesthetics. The solar roof was a bold gamble, combining cutting-edge materials science with ambitious manufacturing goals. Early production faced delays and technical hurdles, but Elon's vision never wavered. He imagined neighborhoods and cities powered by invisible solar energy, turning every roof into a micro-power station. The solar empire's growth paralleled a global surge in renewable energy awareness. Governments worldwide set ambitious carbon reduction targets, and consumers increasingly demanded clean energy options. Elon's work helped shape this shift by making solar power more accessible, affordable, and integrated into daily life. Yet Elon understood that the solar empire's success hinged on more than technology; it required changing mindsets. He became a vocal advocate for climate policy, clean energy incentives, and international cooperation. His public speeches and tweets challenged skeptics and inspired activists, underscoring the interconnectedness of energy, environment, and economy. The impact of Elon's solar ventures rippled across industries. Traditional energy companies faced pressure to innovate or lose market share. New startups emerged, pushing solar efficiency and grid integration further. Elon's leadership catalyzed a renewable energy revolution that moved beyond niche markets to mainstream adoption. However, the solar empire also revealed the complexities of balancing idealism with business realities. Elon navigated trade-offs between speed, cost, and quality. He faced scrutiny over labor practices, supply chain ethics, and environmental impacts of manufacturing. These challenges highlighted the intricate web of considerations in building a truly sustainable energy system. Throughout this journey, Elon's personal dedication never faded. He often visited factories, sat in on engineering meetings, and engaged directly with customers and employees. His passion for the solar empire was fueled by a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that the stakes extended beyond profit to the very survival of ecosystems and communities worldwide. As Tesla's solar and battery products gained traction, Elon's vision of a decentralized, resilient energy network began to materialize. Entire communities experimented with microgrids powered by solar and storage, reducing reliance on centralized utilities and increasing energy independence. These developments hinted at a future where energy was democratized, clean, and abundant. The solar empire was more than a business, it was a movement toward reshaping humanity's relationship with nature and technology. Elon Musk's role as a leader in this transformation was complex and multifaceted. He was part innovator, part entrepreneur, part evangelist, and part disruptor. His successes inspired millions, while his missteps offered lessons in humility and resilience. Looking back, the solar empire was a testament to Elon's belief in the power of technology to solve urgent problems, and the necessity of bold, sometimes risky, bets to create change. It showed that transforming energy was not just about gadgets or factories, but about vision, persistence, and a willingness to challenge entrenched systems. As the world faced escalating climate crises, Elon's solar empire stood as a beacon, proof that a sustainable future was possible, if humanity dared to build it. For Elon Musk, the solar empire was another frontier, another chapter in a life defined by audacity and hope. It reflected his conviction that the greatest challenges demanded the greatest efforts, and that technology, when guided by purpose, could lead the way to a better tomorrow. Elon Musk's quest to bridge the gap between human minds and machines entered a new frontier with Neuralink, a venture that promised to revolutionize not just technology, but the very essence of human existence. The neural frontier was as audacious as any of Elon's dreams, to create a symbiosis between brain and computer, unlocking unprecedented potential for cognition, communication, and even survival. From the outset, Neuralink sparked awe, skepticism, and ethical debates. The idea of implanting tiny electrodes in the brain to directly interface with computers sounded like science fiction. Yet Elon's vision was rooted in a deep understanding of neuroscience, technology, and a fierce desire to address some of humanity's most profound challenges. Neuralink's origins were tied to Elon's concerns about artificial intelligence's growing power. He believed that to avoid being outpaced or controlled by AI, humans needed to enhance their cognitive abilities, essentially becoming cyborgs. The venture aimed to develop brain-machine interfaces that could augment memory, enable direct mental communication, and treat neurological disorders. Early demonstrations by Neuralink featured groundbreaking technology, ultra-thin, flexible threads implanted in the brain via robotic surgery, capable of recording and stimulating neurons with high precision. These feats captured global attention and inspired a new wave of excitement about the possibilities of neurotechnology. But the neural frontier was not without immense challenges. The human brain is the most complex organ known, with billions of neurons and trillions of connections. Developing devices that could safely interface with this system required breakthroughs in materials science, robotics, and bioengineering. Neuralink's team worked tirelessly, pushing the limits of miniaturization, biocompatibility, and wireless data transmission. Elon's leadership style shaped the venture's relentless pace. He demanded rapid prototyping, iterative testing, and audacious timelines, often sparking internal tensions but driving remarkable progress. The goal was not just scientific achievement but practical application, helping patients with paralysis regain mobility or restoring vision to the blind. As Neuralink moved toward human trials, the ethical and philosophical implications came into sharper focus. The idea of altering the brain raised questions about identity, privacy, consent, and the nature of consciousness. Elon openly acknowledged these concerns, advocating for transparency, regulation, and responsible innovation. He saw Neuralink as a tool for empowerment rather than control, a way to expand human potential while respecting individual autonomy. Public reactions to Neuralink's advances were mixed. Enthusiasts hailed it as a breakthrough that could transform medicine and human experience. Skeptics warned of risks, unintended consequences, and the potential misuse of such powerful technology. Debates raged in academic, political, and social spheres about the future of neurotechnology and the safeguards needed. For Elon, the neural frontier was deeply personal as well as professional. He imagined a future where brain-computer interfaces could help those suffering from neurological diseases, enhance learning, and even enable new forms of artistic expression. He often spoke about a time when humans could share thoughts instantly or experience virtual realities indistinguishable from physical ones. Neuralink embodied Elon's broader philosophy: technology as a force to augment humanity, solve existential threats, and expand what is possible. Yet the journey was filled with setbacks and complexities. Clinical trials progressed cautiously, regulatory hurdles appeared, and the profound technical challenges of safely integrating electronics with living tissue became ever more apparent. Elon remained undeterred, driven by a sense of mission and urgency. Neuralink's progress also intersected with broader trends in AI and biotechnology. Advances in machine learning enhanced Neuralink's ability to decode neural signals. Developments in materials science improved implant durability and safety. Collaborations with academic institutions and medical centers accelerated research. Neuralink became a hub of interdisciplinary innovation, blending engineering, biology, and computing in unprecedented ways. The neural frontier also highlighted questions about equity and access. Elon voiced concerns that such transformative technologies should not deepen societal divides but be made available to all. He envisioned a future where brain-machine interfaces could democratize knowledge and opportunity, empowering people regardless of background or circumstance. As Neuralink continued to push boundaries, the world grappled with profound questions. What does it mean to be human when our minds can connect directly to machines? How do we protect privacy in an era of brain data? Could neural enhancement lead to new forms of inequality or control? Elon's neural frontier forced society to confront these dilemmas head-on. In the end, Neuralink was more than a company or a technology, it was a bold experiment in redefining the relationship between mind and machine. It reflected Elon Musk's enduring drive to challenge limits, address existential risks, and shape the future of humanity. The neural frontier was still unfolding, full of promise and peril, hope and uncertainty. But it was clear that Elon Musk had once again thrust himself and the world into a new era, one where the boundaries between biology and technology blurred, and the possibilities of human potential expanded beyond imagination. Elon Musk's dream of making humanity a multiplanetary species was as daring as any idea he had ever pursued, but the Mars Gambit was arguably his most audacious yet. Colonizing Mars wasn't just about exploring a new world. For Elon, it was a desperate insurance policy for the survival of human civilization. From the earliest days of SpaceX, Elon's gaze was fixed beyond Earth's atmosphere toward the Red Planet. He believed that humanity's long-term future hinged on becoming a spacefaring civilization with a permanent presence on other worlds. The notion sparked excitement and skepticism in equal measure. Critics dismissed it as fantasy, citing overwhelming technical, financial, and logistical hurdles. But Elon's conviction never wavered. He framed Mars not only as a scientific frontier but as a moral imperative, a safeguard against earthbound disasters like nuclear war, pandemics, or environmental collapse. The Mars Gambit began in earnest with SpaceX's development of the Falcon rockets, designed for reusability to reduce the astronomical costs of space travel. Elon pushed his teams to innovate relentlessly, pioneering reusable boosters that could land vertically and be flown again. Each successful landing brought the dream of affordable Mars missions closer to reality. Yet the challenges grew exponentially when shifting focus from Earth orbit to interplanetary travel. Mars presented hostile conditions, freezing temperatures, low atmospheric pressure, high radiation, and months-long journeys across millions of miles of space. Developing spacecraft capable of safely transporting humans, landing on Mars, and sustaining life was an engineering puzzle of unprecedented complexity. Elon's solution was the Starship, a fully reusable spacecraft designed to carry hundreds of passengers to Mars and back. Starship embodied the Mars Gambit's scale and ambition. A spaceship unlike anything before, with massive payload capacity and the ability to refuel in orbit. Building Starship demanded revolutionary materials, propulsion systems, and manufacturing techniques. Early prototypes exploded or crashed, drawing headlines and skepticism. But Elon viewed these failures as necessary steps on a steep learning curve, famously saying, "Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough." Behind the scenes, Elon's leadership style pushed his engineers to their limits, demanding rapid iteration, long hours, and relentless problem-solving. The pressure was immense, but the team's passion and Elon's vision fueled breakthroughs. The Mars Gambit was more than technology, it was about people and purpose. Elon envisioned a self-sustaining city on Mars with agriculture, industry, and governance, a place where humans could thrive independently of Earth. He spoke of the pioneering spirit needed to build this new society, drawing parallels to historic frontiers and emphasizing the importance of cooperation and resilience. Preparing for Mars also meant confronting tough realities, psychological effects of isolation, radiation shielding, life support systems, and the immense cost. Elon acknowledged these obstacles openly, framing the project as a marathon, not a sprint. He sought partnerships with governments, scientists, and private companies to share knowledge and resources. The Mars Gambit captured the imagination of millions. Public interest surged with each SpaceX launch and Starship test flight. Elon's charisma and storytelling transformed Mars from a distant dream into a tangible goal. He leveraged social media to share progress, setbacks, and ambitions, inspiring a new generation of space enthusiasts. Yet the Mars Gambit was not without controversy. Environmentalists raised concerns about contaminating Mars with Earth microbes. Politicians debated funding priorities. Scientists questioned whether colonization was ethical or feasible. Elon faced these criticisms with a mix of pragmatism and idealism, arguing that the benefits outweighed the risks and that exploration was a fundamental human drive. As SpaceX moved toward crewed Mars missions, the stakes soared higher. Training astronauts, developing habitats, and ensuring safety demanded unprecedented coordination and innovation. Elon's vision of the first humans stepping onto Mars remained both a beacon and a challenge, symbolizing hope and the harsh realities of pushing boundaries. The Mars Gambit also reflected Elon's personal journey. It was a testament to his resilience, risk tolerance, and unyielding belief in a better future. The project consumed vast resources and attention but also offered a profound sense of purpose. For Elon, Mars wasn't just a destination, it was a symbol of humanity's capacity to dream big and survive. The broader implications of the Mars Gambit were immense. Success would redefine humanity's place in the cosmos, open new frontiers for science and industry, and inspire generations to think beyond Earth. Failure, while costly, would still advance knowledge and technology. The gamble was enormous, but so were the potential rewards. Ultimately, the Mars Gambit was a story about hope in the face of uncertainty. It was a bold wager that humanity could overcome its limitations, unite around a common goal, and carve out a new chapter among the stars. Elon Musk's role as the architect and champion of this vision reflected the essence of his life, a blend of audacity, innovation, and relentless pursuit of a future others dared not imagine. The first footsteps on Mars would mark the culmination of a dream decades in the making, and a legacy that redefined what it meant to be a tech emperor. Elon Musk's rise to tech emperor was not driven by technology alone, it was propelled by an unparalleled mastery of media and public perception. In an age where information flows instantaneously and attention spans are fleeting, Elon transformed himself into a media maverick, wielding platforms, memes, and headlines like weapons in a battle for influence. Unlike traditional CEOs who carefully guarded their public image, Elon embraced a disruptive, often unpredictable style of communication. His Twitter feed became a central stage where innovation, humor, controversy, and candidness collided. Elon's tweets sparked stock market surges, public debates, and viral memes, making him one of the most followed and discussed figures worldwide. But this media presence was no accident. Elon understood the power of narrative in shaping reality. By directly engaging with millions of followers, sharing technical insights, jokes, and even personal struggles, he bypassed gatekeepers and created an authentic connection with his audience. This strategy helped humanize him while building a devoted fan base ready to champion his ventures. The media maverick also knew how to harness controversy to his advantage. From cryptic hints about upcoming projects to bold claims that pushed the boundaries of possibility, Elon kept the world guessing. Some of his tweets sparked regulatory scrutiny and backlash, yet he remained unapologetically himself, navigating crises with a mix of humor, defiance, and strategic silence. Elon's approach redefined the relationship between a tech leader and the public. He wasn't just a distant executive but a personality who invited scrutiny, debate, and participation. This openness fueled a unique form of brand loyalty and media attention that translated into real-world impact for his companies. Beyond social media, Elon's engagement with traditional media was equally savvy. He mastered interviews, keynote speeches, and public appearances, delivering narratives that inspired and energized audiences. He was equally comfortable discussing rocket science as cracking jokes about memes, blending technical expertise with cultural relevance. This versatility helped Elon reach diverse audiences, from engineers and investors to pop culture fans and activists. The media maverick persona also intersected with Elon's sense of humor and meme culture roots. He frequently used memes as communication tools, tapping into internet culture to make complex ideas accessible and foster a sense of community. His playful yet pointed online presence made him a figure who was both revered and relatable, a rarity in corporate leadership. However, this media strategy was not without risks. Elon's unfiltered style sometimes led to misunderstandings, legal challenges, and public relations headaches. Critics accused him of recklessness or manipulation, and some investors expressed concern over volatility. Yet Elon seemed willing to accept these risks, viewing transparency and directness as integral to innovation and leadership. The media maverick also sparked conversations about the evolving role of CEOs in the digital age. Elon blurred lines between personal and professional, celebrity and executive, shaping a new paradigm for leadership where authenticity and media savvy are paramount. His influence extended beyond business into politics, social movements, and cultural discourse. In navigating this complex media landscape, Elon displayed a keen understanding of timing, messaging, and audience psychology. He knew when to provoke, when to reassure, and when to reveal glimpses of future plans. This dynamic engagement created a continuous feedback loop, fueling excitement and investment in his projects. As the media maverick, Elon Musk reshaped not just industries but the very way leaders communicate and connect with the world. His approach demonstrated that in the 21st century, influence is as much about narrative and presence as it is about product or profit. Through tweets, interviews, and memes, Elon crafted a compelling story, one of audacity, vision, and relentless pursuit of a future others deemed impossible. The media maverick chapter of Elon's journey revealed a man who understood that technology without storytelling is incomplete. By controlling the narrative, Elon ensured his empire's growth was fueled by public imagination and support. In the end, Elon Musk's mastery of media wasn't just a tool, it was an extension of his pioneering spirit, a key to unlocking new frontiers in both technology and culture. Elon Musk's transformation from a meme king to a tech emperor wasn't confined to Silicon Valley or the United States, it was a global phenomenon, a testament to his relentless pursuit of innovation that transcended borders and reshaped the world's technological landscape. The global visionary chapter of his journey reveals how Elon's ambitions expanded from building rockets and electric cars to influencing entire industries, economies, and societies worldwide. From the earliest days of Tesla and SpaceX, Elon recognized that solving humanity's greatest challenges required a global perspective. Climate change, space colonization, sustainable energy, and artificial intelligence were issues that no single country could tackle alone. Elon's ventures reflected this awareness. Tesla's gigafactories sprouted in China and Europe, SpaceX launched satellites that connected remote regions, and SolarCity's installations spread green energy across continents. Elon's vision was not just about exporting technology but fostering collaboration across cultures, governments, and markets. He actively sought partnerships with foreign governments and businesses, navigating complex geopolitical landscapes to accelerate innovation. The success of Tesla in China, for example, was a milestone, demonstrating his ability to adapt to different regulatory environments and consumer expectations while maintaining his core mission. The global visionary also grappled with the challenges of operating in a fractured world. Trade tensions, regulatory hurdles, and cultural differences demanded agility and diplomacy. Elon's willingness to engage directly with leaders and policymakers worldwide helped him navigate these complexities, although his outspoken nature sometimes sparked controversy. His global strategy included ambitious plans like Starlink, a satellite internet constellation designed to provide high-speed connectivity to underserved regions. By bridging digital divides, Elon aimed to empower billions, fostering economic development and educational opportunities. This project epitomized his belief that technology should serve as a leveling force, reducing inequality and connecting humanity. Elon's global influence extended beyond commerce. He became a vocal advocate for international cooperation on climate change, space exploration, and AI safety. Through speeches, interviews, and his social media presence, he urged global leaders to prioritize sustainability and innovation. His ideas sparked debates and inspired policies across continents. The global visionary also faced criticism for his perceived dominance and disruption. Some accused him of exacerbating inequalities or overlooking local contexts. Yet Elon viewed disruption as necessary for progress, arguing that bold change often encounters resistance before acceptance. His vision included building resilient supply chains, investing in emerging markets, and promoting education to prepare future generations for a rapidly evolving technological landscape. Elon's global footprint was visible not only in his companies but also in his investments and philanthropy. He supported initiatives addressing global health, education, and renewable energy, reflecting a commitment to leveraging his resources for broader societal impact. As Elon's influence grew, so did his responsibility. He grappled with the ethical implications of technology deployment across diverse populations, emphasizing transparency and inclusivity. The global visionary chapter of his story is a testament to the interconnectedness of today's challenges and the necessity of thinking beyond borders. Elon Musk embodied this global mindset, blending entrepreneurship with activism, innovation with empathy. His legacy became intertwined with humanity's collective future, one where technology, collaboration, and vision intersect to address the grandest challenges. In the end, Elon Musk's journey as a global visionary showed that true leadership requires not just technological prowess but an unwavering commitment to serving humanity on a planetary scale. His ambitions stretched from the smallest battery cells to the vastness of space, from local communities to the entire globe, charting a course for a future where innovation knows no boundaries. Behind the public image of Elon Musk, the tech emperor revered for his visionary genius and relentless drive, lies a complex human story filled with personal gambles, sacrifices, and struggles that often went unseen by the world. The chapter, The Personal Gambles, reveals the man behind the empire, exploring the emotional toll of ambition, the costs of pushing boundaries, and the intimate moments that shaped his character and legacy. Elon's journey was marked by relentless work ethic and intense focus, often blurring the lines between his personal and professional life. Long hours, high-stakes decisions, and the pressures of leading multiple groundbreaking ventures exacted a heavy toll on his health, relationships, and emotional well-being. Despite immense success, Elon's personal life was far from simple. He navigated multiple marriages, public divorces, and the challenges of parenting while managing the demands of his empire. His relationships were sometimes strained by his obsessive commitment to work, yet they also revealed a deeply passionate and caring side. The sacrifices Elon made were not just about time or energy but about enduring public scrutiny and criticism. His every move was analyzed, every tweet dissected, adding layers of pressure that few in history have faced at such scale. Yet he persisted, driven by a profound sense of purpose and the belief that his work was vital to humanity's future. Moments of doubt and vulnerability surfaced, especially during crises, whether technical failures, financial setbacks, or personal losses. Elon openly discussed struggles with mental health, stress, and the loneliness that accompanies leadership at the highest level. These candid revelations resonated with many, humanizing a figure often mythologized. The personal gambles also explored Elon's passion for risk-taking, not only in business but in life. From investing his fortune into failing ventures to pushing the limits of safety and technology, Elon lived on the edge. This daring spirit fueled innovation but also led to moments of recklessness and controversy. Yet even in risk, Elon sought balance, learning from failures and adapting his approach. His resilience was tested repeatedly, but each setback forged a stronger, wiser leader. Family remained a central pillar despite the turmoil. Elon's relationships with his children and siblings provided grounding and motivation. He often spoke about the importance of legacy, not just in terms of companies but as a father and human being shaping the next generation. The personal gambles chapter also shed light on Elon's evolving philosophy toward success and happiness. Over time, he reflected on the costs of ambition and the meaning of fulfillment, balancing his drive for achievement with moments of reflection, humor, and connection. This journey of self-awareness added depth to his public persona and inspired others grappling with similar challenges. Elon's story in this chapter was a reminder that behind every monumental success lies a human being wrestling with complexity, doubt, and hope. His gambles were not just financial or technological but deeply personal choices that defined his path. Ultimately, the personal gambles underscored that greatness often comes with sacrifice, and the courage to face one's vulnerabilities is as heroic as any business triumph. Elon Musk's life embodied this duality, a visionary who dared to change the world while navigating the messy, beautiful realities of being human. As the sun set on decades of relentless innovation and bold gambles, Elon Musk stood not just as a tech titan but as a symbol of humanity's boundless capacity to dream and achieve. The final chapter, The Legacy Unfolds, captures the profound and lasting imprint Elon Musk has left on technology, culture, and the collective imagination of the world. Elon's legacy is not measured solely by rockets launched, cars sold, or satellites deployed, but by the fundamental ways he reshaped our ideas of what is possible. He expanded the frontiers of space exploration, challenged the auto industry to embrace sustainability, revolutionized energy systems, and changed how the public engages with science and innovation. The ripple effects of his work extend into countless fields: engineering, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and beyond. Catalyzing new industries and inspiring a generation of inventors and entrepreneurs. Yet legacy is more than accomplishments, it is the values and visions passed forward. Elon championed a future where humanity is multiplanetary, sustainable, and interconnected. He ignited hope during times of uncertainty and modeled resilience in the face of setbacks. His story showed that failures are stepping stones, and audacity is essential to progress. The world watched as Elon's vision evolved from memes and dreams into tangible realities that shifted paradigms and expanded horizons. His leadership style, bold, sometimes controversial, always unapologetically visionary, challenged norms and redefined the role of a CEO. Elon's openness to sharing his journey, including vulnerabilities and missteps, made his story relatable and human, encouraging others to pursue their passions without fear. The Legacy Unfolds also reflects on the social and ethical questions his ventures raised. About AI, space colonization, and sustainability. Elon's willingness to engage with these debates pushed society to confront the future proactively, fostering dialogue about responsibility and innovation. As the world looks ahead, Elon's influence continues to unfold. The technologies he pioneered are building blocks for new possibilities: Mars colonies, global internet access, clean energy grids, each carrying the seeds of transformation. The entrepreneurs he inspired are charting new paths, fueled by the belief that technology can solve humanity's greatest challenges. The chapter closes with a reflection on the power of vision coupled with perseverance. Elon Musk's journey from meme king to tech emperor is a testament to the human spirit's capacity for creativity, courage, and change. His legacy is not static but a living, evolving force, one that invites us all to imagine boldly, act decisively, and embrace the unknown with hope. In the end, Elon Musk's story is a powerful reminder that the future belongs to those who dare to dream big and fight tirelessly to bring those dreams to life. Life is full of surprises, but vision and determination will always lead the way. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?